Ooh. Do y'all feel that? It's starting to get a little bit chilly, I think. Let me just... Oh, that's way better. Hola y'all, welcome back to my channel. You are watching Shelly Flowers Reads and Writes, where I talk about all things related to reading and writing. I am Michelle Flores, and today we are going to be doing the Finally Fall book tag. So here's the thing. One, I apologize about the background noise. We have the dishwasher going, and I know it's kind of loud, so sorry about that. Two, guess who's back? Say hi.
Hi.
So here's my little helper. So today we're going to be working on the Finally Fall book tag. I saw Elliot Brooks do this tag and I really love her channel, so I decided to go ahead and add my little spin on it. All right. I also want to point out that, like, similarly to Elliot Brooks, I live in Florida, so we don't really get fall here in the same way that other places get fall. It does get chilly in the northern part of Florida, so I live in Jacksonville. We get some seasons aside from hurricane and non-hurricane season, but it's just not the same as when I lived in Memphis and it was like real seasons all year round, or when I lived in New York City, and that was even more of a realistic version of the seasons. So I have to say, of all of the seasons that I've ever experienced in my life, fall is definitely my favorite, and that's why I figured, let me go ahead and jump in on this tag. So I also am wearing this very fancy, beautiful dress because I got to do something that's so exciting that I wanted to share with you guys before I jump into the tag. I, as many of you know, am a poet, and I was selected to be part of a documentary that people in my city are going to be putting out later this year. Actually, I think it's in a couple months is when it's going to be released. And this documentary is part of the Jax by Jax Literary Arts Festival that's hosted every single year here in Jacksonville. So I just wanted to shout that out. I have links and information about it down below, and once the documentary is actually released, it's going to be free to view. I'm going to link that as well, and you guys can check it out and check out some of the work by the other authors who are participating in the festival this year. Okay, I have talked enough about me. Let's get started with this tag. So, question one for the tag. In fall, the air is crisp and clear. Name a book with a vivid setting. I got one. The book that I'm going to name for this particular question is Felix Ever After by Case and Callender. So I'm going to be the first person to say I did not particularly love this book when I read it. I think I'm a little bit too old for the audience that it's aiming for, and I just felt kind of like I was reading Gossip Girl in a lot of ways, which we can get into why it is that I felt that way. But the setting was so great, and I even said in my review of this, I loved the setting and it took me back to my days in grad school. So I just feel like the whole artsy kid scene that's depicted in this book is super accurate, and I really loved the book for that. So definitely, if you're looking for a vivid setting, this is a great book to try. All right, question two. Nature is beautiful, but also dying. What? Name a book that, oh, because leaves change color in other places. Okay, I forgot that was a thing in other places. Because that doesn't happen here in Florida, so. All right. Nature is beautiful, but also dying. Name a book that is beautifully written, but also deals with a heavy topic like loss or grief. Okay. I have one. So the book that I am going to recommend for this particular challenge is Barracoon by Zora Neale Hurston. This book is so heartbreaking, and it follows the story of Cudjoe Lewis, who was one of the last human cargo that was brought over from Africa to the US through the transatlantic slave trade. It is such a painful book because it's such an incredible reminder of our history, and it is a story that needs to be told, and the fact that it's from the perspective of a formerly enslaved person, I think is particularly empowering. If you've read Ain't I a Woman by Sojourner Truth and other books like that, I think it's in that same vein. But what I like about this is that Zora Neale Hurston interviewed Cudjoe, and so you kind of see her perspective as she's interviewing him and talking about you know, her reflections while she goes through this process of getting to know him. Because aside from being an author, Zora Neale Hurston was also an anthropologist, and you get to see that side of her in a way that I don't think you necessarily got to see if you've ever read Their Eyes Were Watching God, which is one of my favorite books of all time. So Barakun by Zora Neale Hurston, highly recommend this book. All right, number 3, fall is back to school season. Share a nonfiction book that taught you something new. For this, I'm going to include an audiobook that I listened to a few months ago called The New Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins. So I am the first person to tell you math is not my strong suit, and talking about the economy is really challenging for me because I'm lower middle class, so it's like I'm basically everybody's pawn, especially as a teacher these days. I'm just a pawn, I'm a cog in the machine. And B, I don't fully understand it. I'm gonna be fully transparent with that. Money has never been a driver in my life, and so I struggle to understand why people are willing to do the things that they do for money. But what I really appreciated about this book was how it connected day-to-day goings-on within corporations and global economy. It also helped me understand what a life economy is, what a death economy is, and all that kind of stuff. So I think if you are someone who is interested in those topics, this book is a great overview. However, I would suggest maybe buying the hard copy or like a paperback copy of it, because for me, listening to it on audiobook, I feel like I could not get as deep into it as I wanted because I was just passively taking in the information. I think books like this in the future, I want to make sure that I have a hard copy of so I can really study it and take notes and annotate, because that's how I best learn. And I need to learn more about the economy. I think if I am going to be pushing for more justice within our society, the economy plays a massive role in that. And so that is definitely an area that I need to work on for myself. All right, number 4, in order to keep warm, it's good to spend some time with people we love. Name a fictional family, household, or friend group that you'd like to be a part of. I'm gonna say Felix Ever After again, because again, it took me back to my days in grad school, and I loved living in New York City. I loved getting to run around, and I would go to art shows and poetry readings. So yeah, I definitely want to relive my early 20s and run around New York City and go to art shows and, you know, get into mischief. I do appreciate Felix Ever After for that kind of content. Okay, number 5, the colorful leaves are piling up on the ground. Show us a pile of fall colored spines. Ooh, this is an interesting one. All right, let me see what I got. Okay, so let me know, how'd I do? Ah! Okay, there we go. All right, so let me know, how'd I do? I don't know if I got these colors right because, you know, I don't really know what fall looks like a lot, but I tried to go for more early fall, so thinking of greens mixed with the yellows and the oranges and the reds and the burgundies and all that, so you know, we'll see. I got a good mix of genres here. So the 360 Leader by John Maxwell, if you're into self-development leadership books for working in a corporate setting, this is a great option. I actually really enjoyed this, even though I probably don't see anything eye to eye with John Maxwell. I think this is a great book if you are someone who is not interested in being a boss and you really just want to like stick in the middle, but you want to do the best job you can. This is a great book to understand how to do that. The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead. I love this book. I'm doing a little bit of a humble brag here, but I read this when I was in Columbia, the country, for my cousin's wedding, and I just found this book to be so different. I love fiction like this. I guess this reminds me of Octavia Butler's Kindred, because it's just so out there and takes a concept and just pushes it into like a reimagining of sorts. And so I love this. Then we have this book here, Alligator Zoo Park Magic, which is produced by the local publishing house in Jacksonville called Bridge 8 Press. It is Florida Man's Fever Dream. So if you're into that, I highly recommend this book. It is just like gonzo Florida-ism. That's all I could really say about it. Then we have this book here, which was one of the first ARCs I ever received. I went to the National Council for Teachers of English. They host conferences around the country every year, and I got to go to one like 5 or 6 years ago now. And the author of this book, Karen Healy, who is also a teacher based out of New Zealand, was giving out ARCs, and so I got one. Then we have Bee Season by Mila Goldberg. I reviewed this for my July wrap-up, I think. It was okay. It was very much a book of the times of the early 2000s, so, you know, if you're into dysfunctional family dramas, that's definitely a book to check out. The Surrender Tree, which is one of my favorite books of all time. It is a novel in verse about the fight for Cuba's independence from Spain. Highly recommend this. Then we have Dick Francis's Under Orders. Dick Francis is kind of like a John Grisham type of author. Not really my thing. I read this earlier this year. I rated it 2 stars. At some point, once I start adding books to my shelf, this will probably be a book that I unhaul, to be quite honest. Then we have Lorraine Nidecker, and this is her collected works. This was a grad school read. I love her work. She just has such a strange voice. Like, here's a line from a poem called Violin Debut. He's been true to himself, a knife behaved. That's so weird. I love it. Time is white, mosquitoes bite. I've spent my life on nothing. Bruh, as like a Floridian, I 100% identify with those lines. So, you know, so many good gems in this book. Then this book here, Crucial Conversations. I think every single person who is working in any like setting where you have to work with other people, this book is necessary. It's going to teach you how to have very difficult conversations with the people around you, but it's also going to teach you to recognize that if the people around you are unwilling to have these types of conversations, then it's okay for you to go somewhere else and go somewhere that's good for your mental health. So love this. I always come back to this. And then the last one that I picked was The Trouble with Black Boys by Pedro Noguera. So this book is awesome if you are wanting to understand the way that white supremacy manifests itself in the education system, specifically against black boys. Highly recommend this. As someone who has taught in Title I schools for 8 years, everything that was said in this book is true, and it's really painful to think about the ways in which our education system has failed black boys. And as the mother of a black boy, I am very cognizant of that. I also recognize, though, that I am white, and so white Latina, and so I need to really just step my game up and be really aware of these biases that I have, and make sure that both as a mother and as a teacher, I am interrogating the tendencies that I might normally have in my teaching style and in my parenting style. So, highly recommend this book. Next question. Fall is the perfect time for some storytelling by the fireside. Share a book wherein somebody is telling a story. Okay, this is gonna be a weird one. Aesop's Fables. So there's the title. This is actually my husband's book, but all of these are little parables. I don't think, what is this? I'm always finding weird shit in my books. Here's another bookmark. This is like the closest thing that I could find that has like the story within a story format. I know not all of the fables are like that, but enough of them are that I figured it could count for this challenge. Next up, number 7. The Nights Are Getting Darker. Share a dark, creepy read. Okay, I do not have any dark, creepy reads that I've already read. I've unhauled those, I believe. So the ones that I'm reading or about to start reading are, okay, so they are these 3 books here. Woo! I'm so excited. So the first one, I am like a third, it's probably more like a quarter of the way through of Cemetery Boys. I'm loving it so far. It's really nice to read a book that's like spooky feeling, spooky vibes, but there isn't a lot of nod to fall. I just feel very seen right now. So definitely loving this, and I'm excited to see where the plot goes. Then I have this book here, When No One Is Watching. I love Olivia from Olivia Reads a Latte, and she read this book and really liked it, so I am very excited about this. I've heard that it's very much like Get Out, but with gentrification. So that intrigues me so much because I love Get Out and I love Jordan Peele. He's a national treasure. Lastly is The Haunting by Shirley Jackson. So I already posted the video about this, but in case you didn't catch it, Kay Spivey and I are going to be doing a buddy read on October 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are going to read the book, vlog about it, and then discuss it on that date so we can talk about, you know, just the things we noticed, the themes we got, the friends we made along the way. But if you are interested in joining us, please do so. That would be so awesome. And this is a backlist title, so if you've never read the book, you should be able to find it pretty easily because I think it was written in the 70s. So yeah, y'all should join us. It'll be super fun. The days are getting colder. Name a short, heartwarming read that could warm up somebody's cold and rainy day. I got one for this. With the Fire on High. Get it? Because it's cold. You got to get warmed up. Did you get it? Okay. I mean, if you stopped watching the video at this point, I totally understand. It's fine. All right, next up. Fall returns every year. Name an old favorite that you'd like to return to soon. Oh, I got this. This is my copy of one of my favorite books of poetry of all time. This is The Flowers of Evil by Charles Baudelaire. Oh my God, I love this book. So when I was living in New York City, my first year, lived in a women's dorm that was owned by the Salvation Army because your girl had very strict parents. And in order to convince them to let me go to New York City, I told them I would live there for a year. Now I know what you're thinking, Michelle, that was grad school. You were in your 20s. Why would you need to ask your parents for permission? Clearly your parents aren't Hispanic. Otherwise you wouldn't ask me that question. But yeah, there were a lot of reasons for it. It was a month-to-month situation, and because of my mom's diagnosis, I needed to be able to fly back home very frequently. And then in one of the common study rooms that was in this dorm, there was a library where you could, like a lending library where you could leave books and take books. This was one of the books in there. So I took this and I love this. I love old hardback books like this. I love how yellow these pages are. Oh, it just smells so good. I love the smell of old books. And I just find the poems in this book to be so beautiful. The one side is French and then the other side is in English. I don't speak French, nor do I read it, but sometimes I like to try, so that's fun. And I also took a course with Sharon Olds. She was my very first poetry workshop. She made us memorize poems and present them at the start of class, and we would have to do, like everybody in the course would have to do it throughout the quarter. So I remember I had to memorize one of these poems and perform it for the class, and I was so nervous because everybody in the class was they were all such accomplished poets, and I was here like, who let me in this club? I don't understand. So yeah, this is definitely an old favorite that I will try to get to before the year's end because I love it. I love this book and I love this author, and I love reading poetry in translation. I think it's so interesting to see what people come up with in other countries. We got one more question, okay? But you gotta be quiet.
Okay.
Shh. Fall is the perfect time for cozy nights. Share your favorite cozy reading accessories. So she's one of them. Definitely one of my favorite reading accessories. Just kidding. She's not an accessory. She's my baby. My other favorite accessories include a weighted blanket or some type of like big fluffy cozy blanket. I love to get all snuggled up while I'm reading and either in bed or on the couch, just get all wrapped up in a blanket. If I'm reading at night, I like to drink a cup of tea while I'm reading. There's just something really soothing and relaxing about it. And then if I go to a park, because sometimes I like to sit outside and read, if it's fall or winter, I'm usually wearing this jacket or another one of my chunky sweaters. And I love just being wrapped up in my chunky sweaters, chunky jackets, sitting by a tree. Usually my back is on the tree, and just getting lost in a book for a few hours. So that's definitely one of my favorite things. All right, y'all, that's it from me. So if you would like to do this tag, please feel free to tag yourself. I would love to hear what some of y'all have to say. If you like what you saw, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. I post videos every Wednesday and Sunday, sometimes Friday. I also have a couple books for sale, so if you'd like to purchase them, here's some examples. You can find the links down below, especially Carlito the Bat, perfect for Halloween if you're searching for something for either your kids or nieces and nephews, or want to donate them to a local school. Those are all great options. You can find me on all social media platforms as @ShellyFlowers, and that's it. Ciao, y'all.